Okay, so if your small business relies on federal R&D funding, you are probably feeling the pressure right now. A major innovation pipeline, what we call America's Seed Fund, has pretty much gone dark. But don't panic. Seriously, this is not the end of the road. Let's dive into what's happening and, more importantly, what you can do about it. So here's our game plan. First, we'll get into what happened to America's Seed Fund and why it's kind of stuck in Congress. Then, and this is the good part, we're going to build your new funding playbook, explore a much wider world of opportunities, and map out the path forward for you, the resilient innovator. So, what exactly happened here? Let's just break down the immediate impact this is having on small tech businesses all over the country. Right, so on September 30th, the legislative authority for the SBIR and STTR programs, it just lapsed. And just like that, new applications and awards were frozen. Poof! This created a massive, massive capital void for thousands of small businesses. And the scale here is it's staggering. We're talking about over $4 billion in annual funding for small business R&D that's now just sitting in limbo. For thousands of startups and tech firms, this isn't just a number on a slide, it's the absolute lifeblood of their innovation. For more than 40 years, these programs have been the backbone of American innovation. They were specifically designed to fund that high-risk, high-reward research that private investors usually run away from. They help small businesses cross that super dangerous gap between a great idea and an actual product you can sell. So, how in the world did we get here? Well, this wasn't some accident or oversight. This funding lapse is the direct result of a standoff happening right now in Congress. Now, what's really interesting here is that the problem isn't a lack of support for innovation itself. No way. Both sides completely agree that these programs are valuable. The fight is all about how they should operate from this point forward. So on one side, you've got lawmakers who are pushing for a simple, clean, one-year extension just to keep the lights on and provide some stability. But on the other side, you have a group that's demanding some pretty significant reforms to tackle issues like foreign influence, better performance metrics, and clearer paths to commercialization. And right now, neither side is budging. And this just perfectly illustrates the real-world chaos this whole standoff is causing. You've got the National Institutes of Health, the NIH, taking very decisive action. They just terminated all their active funding notices. But then you have the Department of Defense, the DoD, which chose to just pause, holding new opportunities in this kind of pre-release limbo. You can imagine for small businesses, this inconsistency creates a super confusing and uncertain landscape to navigate. Okay, so that's the problem, but we are not here to dwell on it. We're here to pivot. It's time to build your new strategy, focusing on some powerful, federally backed alternatives that are still very much open for business. This is the key question, right? If SBIR was your front door, well, it's time to get familiar with the side entrances. And honestly, for some companies, these other doors can actually lead to even bigger and better opportunities. So let's look at this chart. Two huge alternatives are what are called broad agency announcements, or BAAs, and commercial solutions openings, CSOs. Just think of BAAs as funding for really cutting-edge research and CSOs as a way for the government to buy innovative commercial stuff. Here's the kicker. Unlike SBIR, they're open to everyone, not just small businesses. These are very active funding pathways that you can tap into right now. But going after these requires more than just filling out a different application. It really requires a total mindset shift. You've got to move from being a grant applicant asking for seed money to positioning yourself as a non-traditional contractor, basically an agile partner with a direct solution for a federal agency's problem. Okay, now let's zoom out a bit because, federal contracts are only one piece of the whole innovation landscape. There's an entire ecosystem of funding that might be right under your nose. It is so easy to get tunnel vision on those big federal programs, but sometimes the most powerful support for your business can actually be found much, much closer to home. Just take Massachusetts, for example. The state has a whole suite of programs for everything from life sciences to AI and manufacturing. These are real, accessible funds. A quick search for your own state's economic development agency or innovation office could uncover a really surprising amount of support. And this is the one tool every single innovator should be using. The federal R&D tax credit isn't a competitive grant you have to fight for. It's non-dilutive, meaning you don't give up any equity, and it's cash back for the qualified research expenses you already have. It is such a reliable source of funding, especially when other streams feel so uncertain. So we've broken down the problem and we've mapped out the alternatives.
Now, let's pull it all together into a clear, actionable strategy for the future.
Let's make this personal. How do you turn all this info into a real plan? A plan that doesn't just help you survive this lapse, but actually makes your business stronger and way more resilient for the long haul.
I really love this quote because it totally reframes the entire situation. This isn't just a crisis, it's a test, it's a catalyst. It's forcing the entire innovation community to get smarter, to get more creative, and to build funding strategies that are a heck of a lot less fragile.
So here it is, the path forward, broken down into 3 crucial steps. First, diversify. Never, ever again rely on a single government program. Step 2, think like a contractor. Proactively engage with the full spectrum of federal opportunities, your BAAs, your CSOs. And third, go local. Master your state's incentive programs and make that federal R&D tax credit a core part of your financial strategy. And that really just leaves us with a final thought. This disruption is painful, there's no question about it. But by forcing innovators like you to explore this much wider universe of funding, this lapse might just be the accidental push we all needed to create a stronger, more adaptable, and ultimately more resilient American innovation ecosystem for everyone.